Prisoners on protection. That's what I'm going to be talking about in this episode. And I have done videos on this previously, but you lot at home watching my videos have requested that I go more in depth talking about prisoners on protection, why they're on protection, different slang names for protection, and just wanting to know more information on it. Because like I've mentioned, I have done quite a few videos on police officers, on protection, ones that have committed heinous crimes out here, they've went into prison, and just letting you all know what actually happens to them in prison and that they do have a hard time. And S-offenders, I'll not say the word because YouTube doesn't like it. It makes me videos pop up in the algorithm and it stops it from getting monetized, and it flashes up and it comes up limited. So I will refer to them as S-offenders, the ones that are on protection. Now, first of all, I'll just talk about the different slang names for it. And the first one is bacons. They get called bacons or the bacon wings. And that is slang term, bacon bunce equals nonce. But it was also because a bacon is a beast, which is a pig. Bacon comes from a pig. A pig is a beast. And a beast is an S-offender or somebody who is on the numbers. And that's another slang term for it, the numbers. And it's also cucumbers. Again, it rhymes with it. Cucumbers, because when someone says, he's just went down onto the cucumbers, that means he's went on the numbers. And the numbers is protection. Now, I don't know exactly where the term numbers comes from, but it is widely known throughout the prison system as the numbers, protection. And another term for it is, like I've mentioned, so you've got the bacons, the cucumbers, the numbers, and I can't really think off the top of my head. I was just trying to think of some there, but my mind went blank. But these are all different names for the ones that goes down on a protection. And the type of people that go on protection primarily are the ones that are in for S offences. The bacons, the naughty ones, the ones that have committed offences against children and committed S offences against women or anybody or anybody for that matter, sorry. It doesn't matter who they've committed the S offence against. If somebody's in prison for that type of offending, they're going straight on the protection wings. Because if they don't, when they go on a normal location, if and when, it's not if actually, it's when they get found out, because they get found out all the time. And I've seen some of them on the wing get seriously hurt. Because when they get mixed in with the normal location lads and they get found out, they get served right up, which is called prison justice or prison punishment. Because some of these S-offenders, bacons, whichever you want to refer to them as, I've already described what they are. When these come into prison and they've been in for, just say they've come in for a separate type of offence, they might have come back in for a robbery, a shoplifting, something that you would class as a normal location offence. If these have been in prison previously for an S offence, and this time they've come back in, and because they're not in for that offence, they think they might get away with going on normal location. They might want to try and blend in and think that they're okay to go on normal location or general population, whichever you want to refer to it as. It's both the same thing. They try and get away with coming back in on a different offence and forgetting about the ones that they were in previously for. But they forget that, I think it's called a P16 or a page 16 in prison. The screws, the officers, have got access to your file, which has everything in that you've been in prison previously for. And this is how the inmates find out about these type of offenders, because the screws go and tell the lads what they've been in for previously. Obviously, people watching this that have never been to prison or don't know much about prison will be thinking, well, they shouldn't be doing that. But that's what happens in prisons. The screws are just as corrupt as the cons sometimes. Not all of them, but sometimes. But some people might say, well, it's just deserved. A lot of people agree with it and say, well, the screws should be telling the lads about these type of offenders that are trying to go unnoticed and getting mixed in with the main location lads. It's only right that they know about these offenders and get them off the wing, because they don't want to be mixed in with them just as much as the prisoners don't. So the screws normally let loose about these type of people that are on the wings, and then they get, it's called in prison, get served up. And served up means getting beat up, getting slashed, getting hot oiled. Doesn't matter what happens to them, it all comes under the same thing as getting served up. Getting served up means you're going to get done right in and put right where they belong on protection. And that is what normally happens if they try and go unnoticed with the main location lads. But the other type of offenders that are down there as well are snitches and grasses, same thing. And these obviously have either snitched on people on the outside, or they've come into prison and they've grassed on people in prison. Then obviously they're going to be getting put on protection, because as you can imagine, anyone who's in prison don't like grasses, and grasses get served up in prison, so they get put on protection. And the other type of offenders that are on there are people that just can't handle a jail. These people, they're not in for an S offence, they're not in for an offence that merits going on to protection wings, but they cannot hack the jail. And I'll give you examples of people who can't hack the jail. People that are what you would class as soft. Well, people that you wouldn't class, or people that you wouldn't look at as a typical prisoner type. Someone that looks hard, or someone that can handle themselves. They might be in for a minor offence and they've landed in prison. They've never been in prison previously. They can't handle themselves. They've got severe mental health issues, and they can't handle the thought of getting abused or beaten by the other prisoners, even though a lot of the time this doesn't happen. It's just what people build up inside their heads, and they feel as though they're going to get victimized and taunted in prison, which a lot of people do, but a lot of people don't. It all depends how you conduct yourself and go on in prison. But in their heads, they've built this up. They don't want to take the chances. So they say to the screws in reception, can you put us on protection? Or sometimes the screws will take one look at them and say, you will get eaten alive in here. You need to get yourself put on protection. And that's some of the other type of offenders that are down there on protection wings. Ones that cannot handle the jails, or ones that feel as though they'll be intimidated and taken advantage of, and they're not taking the chances, so they go and put themselves on the numbers. But obviously, you've got the S offenders, the ones that deserve to be down there, or the ones that need to be down there for their own safety because they're going to get attacked on sight. Then you've got your high-profile ones, which I've mentioned previously, and this was the reason why I've mentioned these type of offenders, because you've got the likes of Ian Huntley, Levi Belfield, Wayne Cousins, all these high-profile bacons that will be attacked on sight, or have been attacked on sight numerous occasions. They've been beaten, they've been slashed, they've had their eyes stabbed, and these high-profile offenders will go through the rest of their sentence watching the backs, because they'll be attacked at every opportunity. And even though they're on protection, this is where they're actually getting served up on protection, because some of the lads, I forgot to mention this, another type of offender that is down on protection is the ones that's been up on main location and they're getting involved in drugs, and they're heavily addicted to drugs in prison, whether it be spice, smack. There's not as much smack in the prisons as there used to be. That was the number one problem in the prisons, when it was the smack. Everyone was getting hooked on that. And obviously it's expensive, they couldn't afford it, or they couldn't afford to pay the bills. Then they were putting themselves on protection because they owed money and they were going to get done in. But now the prisons are run full of spice. But again, prisoners are getting racked up with debt. They cannot pay the bills and they're running down on protection. And these are the type of prisoners that are down there that are bumping into high profile S offenders, or even, they don't even have to be high profile, they're just bumming into ex-offenders down there. And sometimes they're thinking if they give a bit of punishment out of these, a bit of prison justice, they might be welcomed back onto the main location wings. And sometimes they are. If they've gotten a hold of them, sometimes they've sort of made amends to the ones that they've run away from, and they're welcomed back in. Not all the time, because they will get done in again, because sometimes when they put themselves on protection, they've actually got to give names to go down there. Like the screws will say to them, well, if you're going to put yourself on protection, we want to know who's doing things on the wing. And sometimes they will give up the information to put themselves on protection. So sometimes they'll never be welcomed back, because obviously they'll have targets on the back for what they've done in the first place. But these are just situations that I'm given about who attacks these ex-offenders down there. But when they're on protection, there is ex-offenders who actually committed offences against women or even men, and they don't look at themselves as being as bad as the ones that committed offences against the children. And these are the ones that they're actually acting out their own justice on each other, thinking that they're higher up because they didn't harm children. Some of these ones that have harmed women and men, I cannot actually say the word because obviously it'll flag up, but you know what I'm trying to say. The S offence, S-U-L-E, can't actually say the full thing, but when these have committed these type of offences against women or adults, these type of offenders have actually got their own kids, and they don't see themselves being as twisted as this sounds. This is the way they think in their heads, because I've been told of screws inside of prison that they look at these other offenders who've done it to kids as dirt, and they don't feel as though they're as bad as them. And these are the ones that are acting out their own prison justice on the other ex-offenders. So the majority of the time, it's ex-offender against ex-offender that are actually serving each other up on the protection wings. But these are just examples that I'm given because people are wanting to know what actually happens down there. And obviously, when you're in prison and you get talking to screws, and some of the screws tell you that they've worked on these wings before, some of the screws hate working with these type of offenders. They'll only work on the main location wings. But then you'll get other screws that like working with these because they have an easier time. So this is another part of the story about the protection wings. What is it like for the screws working down there? Because I've said to some of the screws before, I've said, how can you actually work on the wings with people like that, the likes of Ian Huntley, that have actually killed kids and done horrible things to them before they've actually killed them? And we've said, how can you actually work with these type of offenders? And they said, you know what it is? It's easier. So they don't look at what they're in for. They look at their workload. And if it's an easier job for them, they enjoy it better. They enjoy working with them because it's more challenging working with the main location lads, because there's more trouble with the main location lads involving drugs and fights and stuff like that. So they would rather be on the protection wings so they can have an easier time inside of prison. As mad as it sounds, that is their logic, and that is how they get through working with them type of offenders. But yeah, well, I think I've covered quite a bit there. I've went on a bit. People are enjoying these type of videos that go on a little bit longer. But like I've mentioned in the previous videos, when I've done them a bit longer, I mean, it's been on about 15 minutes or something, this one. I probably will break it down into a couple of sections and put the shorter videos on as well. But I'll put this upload on first, and then I will chop it down into shorts so people do watch them. Because again, people enjoy watching the shorter videos and some enjoy the longer videos. So I will cater for both type of viewers. But if there is any other videos that you want us to cover, drop it in the comments. I always listen to me subscribers and me viewers, see which ones you like best, and I will cover them topics just for you lot watching at home. Because at the end of the day, it's you that are watching the videos, and it's you that give the feedback so I know whether or not you like it. But if you are still watching up to this point, drop a comment and a like and subscribe if you're not already subscribed. But also, go and check out my website, my ruthlessfitness.shop. It's all to do with me gym and me fitness wear. But I've also got another website which is linked to this channel, which is Behind the Bars Marketplace, which is a lot more to do with the prison side of it. But if you want to go and have a look, check it out and let us know what you think of it. But I'll leave that one there for now, people. Hopefully you did enjoy that one. Take care.